I was 23 when my cousin Rachel asked me to stay at her apartment for a few days while she recovered from surgery at her parents' house an hour away. She'd just had her appendix removed and didn't want to leave her place empty. Plus, she needed someone to water her plants and grab her mail. I'd stayed there before when visiting the city, so I knew the layout and had my own key. Rachel lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a newer building in a decent part of downtown. The 2nd bedroom was her office/guest room with a pull-out couch where I'd be sleeping. She walked me through everything over the phone before I drove over. She mentioned that her upstairs neighbor sometimes gets loud at night, so don't be alarmed if I hear footsteps or furniture moving around. Just normal apartment living. I got there on a Wednesday afternoon, dropped my bag in the guest room, and made myself at home. The place was clean and quiet, exactly what I needed since I was between jobs and had nothing going on that week. That first night was completely normal. I ordered takeout, watched Netflix, watered the plants, and went to bed around midnight. The pull-out couch wasn't the most comfortable, but it was fine for a few nights. I woke up the next morning around 9 and made coffee in her kitchen. As I was pouring it, I noticed the bathroom door at the end of the hallway was closed. I'd left it open the night before after brushing my teeth. I remembered specifically because I didn't like closing doors in other people's apartments. It made me feel weird. I walked over and opened it. Everything looked normal. Towels hanging where they should be, nothing moved. I figured maybe the door had swung shut on its own, or I was misremembering. Around noon, I went out to grab lunch and pick up Rachel's mail. When I got back, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The TV was on in the living room. I knew I'd turned it off before leaving. I stood there listening. The volume was low, showing some daytime talk show I definitely hadn't been watching. I called out, "Hello?" No response. I walked into the living room and turned off the TV with the remote. I checked both bedrooms, the bathroom, the closets. Nobody there. I told myself maybe I'd left it on by accident and didn't notice when I left. Possible, but it bothered me. That afternoon, I called Rachel to check in. She asked how I was settling in and if everything was okay with the apartment. I almost mentioned the TV thing, but decided it would just worry her for no reason while she was recovering. She told me she'd be at her parents' for at least another 3 days, maybe 4, depending on how she felt. I said, "No problem. Take your time." That night, I made dinner and settled in to watch a movie. Around 10 p.m., I paused it to use the bathroom. When I came back to the living room, my phone was sitting on the arm of the couch. I'd left it on the coffee table. I picked it up and stared at it. There was no reason it should have moved. I was the only one here. I checked it. Nothing open that shouldn't be. I sat back down but couldn't focus on the movie anymore. Every small sound in the apartment made me look up. Around 11:30, I decided to go to bed. I went to the guest room and stopped in the doorway. My bag, which I'd left on the floor by the closet, was now on the desk chair, and it was unzipped. I always zip my bag, always. I walked over slowly and looked inside. Nothing seemed missing. My clothes were still there, my toiletries, my wallet, but someone had definitely opened it and moved it. I backed out of the room and went to the kitchen. I grabbed a knife from the block and walked through the entire apartment again, checking every possible hiding place. Behind the shower curtain, inside closets, under the beds. I was alone, but I didn't feel alone. I called Rachel. It was almost midnight, but I didn't care. "Hey, is everything okay?" She sounded groggy. "Yeah, sorry to wake you. But did you give anyone else a key to your apartment? Like building maintenance or anything?" "No, why? What's wrong?" "Nothing, just things keep moving around and I wanted to make sure nobody else had access." There was a pause. "What do you mean things are moving?" "Like I left the TV off and came back and it was on. My bag was in a different spot. Small stuff." "That's weird." "No, you're the only one with a key besides me. Are you sure you didn't just forget? Or..." "Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I'm probably just tired. I'll let you get back to sleep." "Okay, but call me if anything else weird happens, okay?" I hung up and stood in her kitchen holding the knife, feeling ridiculous. I decided to stay up for a while and see if anything else happened. I sat on the couch with the TV off, just listening. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and occasional sounds from other units. Around 1 a.m., I heard it, a creak from the hallway, like someone shifting their weight on the floorboards. I gripped the knife and stood up. "Who's there?" No response, another creak, closer to the guest room. I walked slowly toward the hallway, my heart pounding. As I got closer, I heard someone's breathing, coming from inside the guest room. I pushed the door open fast and reached for the light switch. The room was empty. The pull-out couch was still made from this morning. My bag was still on the chair, but the closet door, which I'd left open, was now closed. I stared at it. The breathing was coming from inside the closet. I could hear it clearly now. Come out, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I know you're in there. The breathing stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the closet door opened slowly. A person stepped out. A woman, probably in her 30s, wearing jeans and a dark hoodie. She was thin, pale, with greasy hair pulled back in a ponytail. We stared at each other for several seconds. Who the hell are you? I said. She smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. I'm Rachel's roommate. Rachel doesn't have a roommate. Sure she does. I've been staying in the spare room for a few weeks now. Her voice was calm, casual, like we were having a normal conversation. Get out of this apartment right now or I'm calling the police. She took a step toward me. You're the one who needs to leave. This is my room. Rachel said I could stay here. Rachel is my cousin. I just talked to her. She didn't mention you because you don't exist. Get out now. She didn't move, just kept smiling. Call her then. Ask her about Amy. I pulled out my phone, keeping the knife pointed at her, and called Rachel. She answered after 2 rings, sounding worried. What's wrong? There's a woman in your apartment who says her name is Amy and that she's your roommate. What? I don't know anyone named Amy. Get out of there right now. The woman's smile faded when she heard Rachel's voice through the phone. She's lying, the woman said. We had an agreement. Rachel, I'm calling 911, I started, but the woman suddenly rushed at me. She shoved me hard and I stumbled backward into the hallway. The knife fell from my hand. She ran past me toward the front door. I scrambled to my feet and chased after her, but by the time I got to the living room, she'd already yanked the door open and was gone. I ran into the hallway and looked both ways. She disappeared down the stairs. I went back inside, locked and deadbolted the door, and grabbed my phone from where I dropped it. Rachel, are you there? Oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? I'm fine, she ran. I'm calling the police. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. 2 officers took my statement while a third searched the apartment. They found the closet in the guest room had a blanket and pillow inside, along with some food wrappers and empty water bottles. Whoever she was, she'd been living in that closet for at least a day or 2, maybe longer, coming out when she thought I was asleep or out of the apartment, moving things around, watching me. The officer asked if anything was missing. I checked my bag more carefully and realized my debit card was gone. She'd taken it from my wallet. They dusted for prints and took the items from the closet as evidence. They said they'd check building security cameras to see if they could identify her. Rachel called her building manager immediately, and he came over to change the locks that night. He said he'd review all the security footage from the past week. The next day, they found footage of a woman who matched my description entering the building 2 weeks earlier, behind another resident who'd held the door open for her. She'd been going in and out at odd hours, usually very late at night or early morning. She'd somehow gotten into Rachel's apartment. They thought maybe she'd found a way to slip the lock, or had gotten a copy of a key somehow. The building manager couldn't explain it fully. They never caught her. My debit card was used twice at gas stations about 30 miles away before I got it canceled, but that was the last trace of her. Rachel came home 2 days later, still recovering, and I stayed with her for another night to make sure she felt safe. She couldn't sleep in that apartment for weeks. The thought that someone had been living in her closet while she was there, that this woman had been in her home for who knows how long before I even arrived, made her physically sick. We went through everything in her apartment. Rachel noticed some of her clothes were missing, a few pieces of jewelry, nothing valuable enough that she'd noticed before, but definitely gone.